Hello and welcome to Leadership is a Philosophy, Not a Checklist, video discussion 4, and this is going to be on the movie called Hotel Mumbai, but at the same time it's also transitioned over to a little bit more analysis. Everybody knows about Hotel Mumbai, so it was the attack on Mumbai, India in 2008 on September 11th. Some terrorists came and attacked, and they attacked a bunch of sites around the town, and they also happened to attack the Taj Hotel. So the terrorist attack's a pretty big deal. But what was interesting and what got my attention, because I remember the attack happening, and then I actually saw the movie, and then that gave me some more focus, is that when the attack happened, there's all the staff of the hotel, 500 or 600 people that were the staff on duty, and none of them left the hotel. All of those people knew how to escape. All of them knew the back routes, all the ways to get out. None of them left. They all stayed at the hotel and protected the guests or took care of the guests. And then ended up sacrificing themselves in some cases to help get the guests out of the hotel. So when I was first doing analysis, I thought, oh, well, clearly that's a result of leadership. Well, turns out that I wasn't exactly correct, because the more analysis I did, the more work I did on it, it's a complete package. So I think that the Taj Hotel and their leadership environment and the culture that they have there is sort of as good as it gets. It's a shining example of being done right, because they select quality people to work there. They select people of great character. And then they select leaders of great character, and they give the employees all of the power and backing they need to do their job to the absolute best of their ability. And then they select those same sort of people to be leaders. So this is sort of an example, even though it was a big tragedy, this is an example of as good as it gets. I mean, how would you feel if you're sitting there with your organization and some terrible thing happens and everybody stayed to take care of the organization? Everybody remained behind. Well, that's an example of the character and quality of the people, and it's also an example of the leadership that's there. So it's a complete package. We've talked about it before. The leadership is important. The culture is important. They set the environment, but then the employees are the one that do all the work. So there's a video. At the end of the video, I'll have a link to a TED talk that was done on it, a link to the movie, and then a link to some of the stuff from the Taj Hotel. So this is a little bit different because I've had a hard time finding out the actual leadership philosophy, leadership approach of the people at the hotel. But I think that looking at the results and looking at some of their practices, we'll be able to reverse engineer how they got there or what they're doing to get there. So a little bit more interesting take. This one, again, is a little bit later than I wanted for the time period I was working, because I found out that I needed to do some more thinking and some more work. So appreciate that. Anyway, onto the PowerPoint. Thanks. Righty. Hello and welcome to the PowerPoint portion of our video discussion. So as we talked about, the movie that inspired all of this was Hotel Mumbai, and it's about the attack on Mumbai, India. It wasn't just the Taj Hotel that got attacked, it was a bunch of other stuff. After watching that movie, I thought, wow, there's something amazing about what happened. And one thing that I found a little interesting was there was a young woman that was in one of the major restaurants. She's 24 years old. And she was one of these people that took complete responsibility for the hotel or for the guests in their restaurant and handled her business perfectly fine. They didn't really put her in the movie. I thought, well, why would you not do that? Because it was a great part of the story. However, everybody that was involved obviously did amazing things because nobody left. And then there's also a TED talk by a guy from Harvard that went out and did some research with the Taj Hotel, and the video is entitled "Ordinary Heroes of the Taj Hotel." Well, what I'm trying to do with this video is say, well, why in the heck did these people not leave? Every single one of them was a hero. Every single one of them was some amazing human being. I'm not saying that they aren't, but it's like there has to be more to it than just they all decided to stay. What would cause them to stay? So we're going to do some analysis of that. So this is, once again, like I said, it's very difficult to go and find something that's written down that says this, so we're going to go through some observations. So employees, everybody that's hired at the hotel, is given the authority to do everything humanly possible to take care of the guest. And so I read an example where the air conditioner had been working in a guest's room, and so they moved them to another room. Air conditioner broke in that room, so the guest left and was really cranky. Well, the person, the employee that was in charge of that guest or that room, went and got them a limo service to take them to another hotel and take them to the airport and do all sorts of stuff to take care of them. So they spent way more money than they made in revenue from the guests to take care of the guests, to make sure that their situation was somewhat better. They didn't have to ask permission to do that. They just did it. And then management backed them up. The next thing is, I talked about that. So management has their back. So the goal, right, if we talk about leaders attune competence in environmental hierarchies in pursuit of the goal, well, the goal is satisfied guests. The goal is guests are happy. And then we go and find the best people to do that, right? So we're reverse engineering. So the goal, take care of the guest. So in India, this is what I've seen and read. So if I'm wrong, and our friends from some people from India are watching this and tell me that I'm wrong, I could be. I haven't said that I'm right about any of this. But they say that if you have a guest in your house, the guest gets, you treat the guest like they're a god that's visiting you. And that's the same thing that's in the Taj Hotel. Everything that goes on at that hotel is focused on the customer experience, the guest experience. So the grounds are immaculate. The food is fantastic. The restaurant everything is spotless. The rooms are taken care of. You basically have a person that is assigned to help you in your room at all times. Amazing, right? Just fantastic. And so this is what sort of environment they have created. This is the expectation in the hotel. So very cool. The difference that they have there also is not that the employees are representatives of the hotel. The employees, the associates, are representatives of the customer. So they are going to fight and do everything they can to take care of the customer or take care of the guest. Guests need something, they get it. There's no, well, we don't do that here, that's not possible, that's not the way things are done. They just go out and do it. So it's a completely different focus in that, well, I don't say different. Everybody says that the customer is the most important thing. But do you really do everything to take care of the customer? I don't know. I'm not sure. And then so you look at the pay, and the pay is average for the hotels of that quality in Mumbai and in India, or slightly higher. So it's not like these people are being given, tons and tons of money to do this sort of stuff. They're getting paid like everybody else, but the culture is to take care of the guest. The management and the leadership takes care of the employees to make sure that they can take care of the guest, and so that's the goal, right? And then they've got a couple of different recognition and promotion systems, which I'll talk about as well, but there's no financial reward. There may be a bonus or something I couldn't find at the end of the year if you've gotten yourself to a certain rank and tier in their reward system. But if a guest leaves a good comment, within 48 hours, you are recognized in front of the hotel staff for your excellent behavior. So, you want more of something, you reward it. So you give somebody hey, you did a great job for the guest. as soon as it happens, then that reinforces those behaviors. I mean, it seems like common sense, but we don't see it happen near enough, in my opinion. And so their system, I think it has 3 tiers, and you also get points for these recognitions from the management. So the management reviews the compliments and said, oh, they get this number of points. They still get the reward. And then once they make this certain tier in the system, then they can get rewards. Can't remember. Easy enough to look up and find out what's going on. But that's just a very great. It's a great system in my point, in my idea. Hey, you want to keep reinforcing good behavior, then reward good behavior. We focus so much time on we got to go take care of the problem children. Well, how much better are you going to get from problem children? If you've got somebody that's rocking it and they're doing amazing things, you've got to tell them they're doing great things, because then they will continue, right? If you spend all your time with the bad people, then the good people are going to go, hey, I don't have to do that much because nobody's paying attention to me. All right, so that's the operational culture from what I can tell at the hotel. So just an amazing thing. Every time you go and read anything about the hotel, it's they bend over backwards for you. They do everything they can to take care of you, and there's no bureaucracy saying no. It's, are we taking care of the guest? Then yes. So fantastic, right? So hiring and development at the Taj Hotel. Now I got this from a slideshow. There'll be a link to the end, or at the end, where they talk about how they hire people. So they don't go and get people from the big cities that have become all jaded and narcissistic and all this sort of stuff. They go and find people in small towns, and they talk to the headmasters of the different schools and look for people that are humble and want to do a good job, and they don't even have to be getting the best grades. They don't have to be the most amazing students, but they're looking for people that have humility and work ethic. Now, I added vigilance and empathy because that's the sort of thing that you need if you're going to be taking care of a guest. You need to pay attention to the guest experience, and you have to have empathy for what the guest is going through if you're going to be a good ambassador for the guest. And so this is the way that they go and hire people. So they do the same thing for their management team, for their leaders. They go and find those sort of people that are conscientious, that have humility, that are getting their work done, and are looking to have a long-term relationship with the hotel. And so this is sort of a different approach, right? They would rather have somebody that has the integrity and the humility and all of that sort of stuff, and then teach them the hotel business, than somebody who's really, really good at folding sheets or something, but is a complete jerk. They don't want any of that. They want this attitude. They want this sort of thing. So what I think is that these guys are sort of on to, here's how we can identify people that have at least the philosophy. And then maybe when we go to the management, we'll talk about that in a second. So, right, so they go and talk to different teachers and headmasters and say, hey, what students do you have that do you think would, are humble and are working hard and doing all that sort of stuff, and have respect for people and are genuinely people of character, because we want to take them. But notice it's demonstrated behavior. It's not, hey, we've given these people a competency test, or we've given them an assessment test to see if they can work in a hotel. We're looking for that. We'll teach them the hotel business. What I don't know is how many years they've been doing this, but it's the culture at the hotel. So their training program for their employees, 18 months. A lot of it is hands-on. So they go and get trained to do this stuff at the hotel, and then they shadow somebody from the hotel, or they basically have a mentor for several months. And if during that time the mentor doesn't think they have what it takes to work at the hotel, they're told no. So it's not even a guarantee that you're going to work there if you don't have the skill set, or not the skill set, but the ability to be what they want you to be. And then the management training program is 18 months as well, and it's about a third of it is classroom, and the rest of it is performance. And during that 18 months, there's 7 different stages where you can get kicked out of the program. And so part of it's classroom, and then you go and spend 6 months or 7 months doing every job in the hotel. It's just amazing. And then you come back and do some more classroom stuff, and you have projects that you do, and then you go and you shadow somebody for management. And so there's 3 or 4 stages of that. And if you don't make the cut and look like you have the humility and the vigilance and the empathy and the integrity, then you don't get the job. And then there's 3 interviews, and at every one of those interviews you can get cut. And then once you get out of that, then you still go get another, you still are shadowing somebody and they're keeping an eye on you. So I think that's amazing too, because here you got 18 months where somebody's being watched and they're doing all the jobs in the hotel. So you're going to know, if they, especially if they get to some job that they think is beneath them, well, they're not going to make it. This should happen. I was in the Army. This should happen in the Army too. You should observe people. Yeah, we send them off to schools, but you need to observe them doing all these jobs before they go get put in charge of people. So the goal of their management program is to prepare for senior positions in 8 years. So they're still going to have 8 years of observation and behavior and all that sort of stuff. Now, one thing, let me check real quick. I can't remember if I put it in there. Oh, yeah. So one thing that's interesting is that they, no kidding, have a 360-degree evaluation. I have done a few of these in different companies that I've worked for, and I didn't think that they were genuine. So in this one, you have all of the employees that work for you go and provide feedback. And the goal is to have 100% employee satisfaction. So think about that for a minute. You've got the goal is to take 100% care of the guest. Who's doing that? The employee, the frontline employee is doing all of that, taking care of the guest. Your job is to make sure that the employees are taken care of as if they were God, or as if they were the guest. And so they have to be 100% satisfied with your behavior. And that is included in your assessment every year, or whatever their performance periods are, to make sure that you're qualified to keep going. So what I love about that is that fits in very nicely with the solution chapter. If you remember in the hypothesis, that chapter 7 was the solution, where I say, you ask 3 questions. Should this person get promoted? Should your boss get a pay raise? And would you voluntarily follow your boss to another part of the company? If the answer to any of those is no, then you probably shouldn't promote that person. They don't have what it takes. They're not a leader. They're just a management type. And so that evaluation cycle is fantastic, right? And so you've got all of that sort of stuff, plus your performance and all these sort of things. I didn't see in any of the research I did a single metric about revenue. Now, I'm sure that the revenue people have those goals, but nobody talked about, we're trying to be the industry leader in this and that. We're going to take care of the guests, and we're going to take care of the employees, and we're going to make the rest of it. It's amazing. It's just amazing. So as I've said, I think that this is an example of good, because let's think about this for a minute. So the Taj Hotel has the idea of looking for people that have the tenets of the leadership philosophy, right? I'm not guaranteeing, but I'll bet if we could find somebody, because I tried to email some directors from the Taj Hotel and I didn't get an answer from anybody, because what am I? I'm naval-int, right? So I'm sure that they would not disagree with the fact that their employees, all of them, they look for people that have integrity, because they're not going to lie. They're humble because they're serving the guest or the employee. They're going to pay attention to all sorts of stuff because they have to, and then empathy. So that's the philosophy. But then when they're doing the management program, they're looking for people that are demonstrating the talent. I don't know that they know that that's what they're doing, though. And I could be radically wrong, but it seems like if you don't have the talent to lead and take care of people, you don't make it through the management system. Because they have never said, when you go and read the slideshow, it doesn't say, oh, if you don't have these behaviors, you don't make it. It's just, here's where the cuts happen. But if you've got a bunch of leaders sitting around looking at other leaders, they're going to know, right? You're going to know. You can sense it right away. And so I just wanted to kind of wrap this up real quick to talk about the fact that this is an example of how good it can be if you hire the right people. And so you have the right employees and they've got a clear goal. And then you give them all of the power that they need to accomplish that goal. And then you put a management/leadership system on top of that that has the same goal, right? Take care of the people that are taking care of the guest, or you're taking care of the guest as well. So the way that you make sure that your employees give the guest the best job is you give the employees the best experience that they can, right? Because who would want to leave if they loved going to work every day and they got to take care of people and they just thought it was the most amazing thing. And their bosses had their back when they did crazy things, and then they recognized them when they went and did crazy solutions. And so you take that, and then, I mean, an example. So let's go back and talk about the attack. So you have that goal. You have the employees that have that focus. You have the management that has that focus. And then here this terrible terrorist attack happens, and guys come walking in the front door with AKs and are throwing grenades around and setting stuff on fire. Well, what are they going to do? Well, here's the pressure. Here's the chaos that's just introduced itself, and what's their first instinct is to do what they knew was right. We're going to make sure that we take care of the guests as best that we can. And so they were calling people up and saying, stay in your room. There's all these things, bad things happening. They were locking people out and hiding them. They were moving them to different parts of the hotel and trying to keep them away from the terrorists, because they knew what they were doing and they kept that as their goal. So amazing, right? Because just think about it. Do you think that in whatever organization you have where you're watching this right now, if something like this happened, that all of the employees' first response would be to take care of the organization or to take care of whatever the stuff is, or would they all run for themselves? Because that culture of everybody's taking care of everybody will reinforce itself. And if you have a manager, not a leader, a manager that's self-serving and just taking care of themselves and is just doing stuff to get promoted, abuses their people, causes them a bunch of chaos, doesn't give a crap about them, just treats them as reports. I hate that word. Well, you need to go talk to your reports. No, they're human beings. They're people, right? So start treating them that way. Anyway, so here you've got all this management and all this chaos and all this evil, basically. And then some other terrible thing happens, everybody's just going to bail, right? Or a bunch of them are. You're going to have the few people that are there, they're going to try to save something. But in this case, it wasn't a hero. It was the entire staff just did amazing things. And so to me, this is the greatest example of the good. They're doing everything they can to take care of the employee or the guest. They're doing everything they can to make everything good. And everything's wonderful. And then, everything goes to hell, and they keep doing it because it's the right thing to do. And so they ended up saving a whole ton of people. I think I can't remember the numbers correctly, but I think it's like 35 people were killed, and half of them were the staff. Now think about that for a minute. Half of them were the staff. And the biggest amount of casualties was when they finally figured out that they were going to try to sneak them out the back of the hotel through the kitchen. So a bunch of the kitchen staff basically had this human chain that they were shuffling people along, and the terrorists found out where they were and went down there and started shooting them. Terrible. It's all terrible. It's horrible stuff. But just imagine if you had that sort of a group. I mean, the general manager was not at the hotel when the thing launched, and he came back to the hotel. Place is infested with terrorists. He runs back and starts trying to direct the emergency services and starting to coordinate all this sort of stuff. His family was on the 6th floor of the hotel, and they all died. And he kept working. because he had a bunch of people to take care of. I mean, sorry, I'm getting choked up. That's the first time I've ever gotten emotional. But what sort of a human being is that? Right? His job is, his goal is to take care of the people that are taking care of the people that are taking care of the people. His personal life has just been destroyed because his wife and children are dead now, burned to death. And he was sitting there running things. Is that what, do you think that had happened in your organization? Or do you think the first thing people do is take the money and run? Look at all the examples of all the stuff that happened during the financial crisis. At some point, I'm going to do a video about one of those companies. They were just looting the company until everything fell apart. They didn't care. So do you want somebody like that in charge, or do you want the guy that's going to, or the person, man or woman, that's going to sit there and take care of things to the best of their ability, no matter what the circumstances? So to me, I think that this is what they're doing, but I haven't been able to see it written down. This is an example, if it's true, that they're looking for people that have the tenets of the philosophy, and then for their management team, they start looking for people that have the talent, the leadership talent, the ability to lead and take care of people and do all that sort of stuff. Because they've, you go and look and they've got some guys that have been working just doing stuff for the hotel for 20, 30 years. Just helping people out in their rooms. So that person's got the philosophy, not the talent. Doesn't want to be management, doesn't want to lead, doesn't want to be in charge. Okay, perfect. Let them do what they're great at. So anyway, sorry if this got a little heavy at the end, but just think about that. Look around your organizations. Do you have those sort of people, or do you have somebody that's going to lead by example like that? And these aren't, none of these people are combat people. None of these people are military. This is what they did because that's the leadership environment that they had and the quality of people that they had. So remember I told you that I thought, oh, it must be leadership. No, it's leadership and the quality of people. I mean, amazing. What an amazing story. So anyway, all right. As always, thank you very much for your time. The next video that I do is going to be an example of how bad it can get. Or not how bad, but an example of badness. So anyway, thanks so much for your time, and I hope you have a great day. Okay, I am very sorry. I forgot to do this part. So here's the movie. I linked the Wikipedia in here because this sort of had some different producer changes and some different company changes. So there's all the list of credits is on the Wikipedia thing. I didn't want to try to include all of it here because the list is so huge. This is the link to the YouTube video where this is the gentleman from Harvard that went and did some research on the Taj Hotel. This is the slide share from Human Resources on the Taj Hotel and basically what they're looking for in their employees. And then this is their leadership program. So that's the last part. I apologize for forgetting that. Didn't mean to shortchange any of that sort of stuff. But if you go and read all this sort of stuff, this is what I did to try to put together the video. All right, now we're done. Thank you so much for your time. Take care.